So my name is Divya Tandon. I'm the Director of Marketing at ClubRunner. And joining me today is Hallie Astrabadi, co-founder and COO of ClubRunner. She's going to be helping facilitate this webinar as well. At this time, you should see, I'm going to start a poll, and at this time you should see a poll appear on your computers. And it's just a quick survey to gauge the size of your clubs, who we have in the audience today. So we want to know a little bit about the size of your audience, where your club is located, what you're doing about your virtual meetings. So just very simple questions. If you could take some time to answer those, that would be great. I'll leave it running for some time, and we can, and we'll just see the answers come in. And we'll start to share those answers with you as once the webinar is over as well. And if you cannot access the poll for any reason, just feel free to answer those questions in the chat. And it's just mostly, once again, about what size is your club, where are you located, have you converted your meetings to online meetings, and what software are you using if you did convert to online meetings? And just some information about any initiatives you've taken on during this COVID-19 pandemic, what you've been doing. So that would be great to start, and I'll leave the poll running for a little bit and we'll turn it off in a little while. So at this point, what I will do is I'll turn the mic over to Hallie, who will go ahead and introduce our guest panelists today.
Thank you so much, Divya. Hi everyone. I want to also thank you all for joining us today. I know for some of you this is 3 a.m. For those of you joining from Australia. And really what we wanted to do with this session is bring everybody together, connect with one another, and really create an opportunity for us to learn how we can adapt our club in this challenging time. You know, we were really blown away by some of the responses that clubs and districts have been making within their communities, and globally. And we were hoping to highlight some of these efforts, hopefully to inspire everyone into action. But additionally, we wanted to really focus on some of the challenges that clubs are now facing as we are essentially transforming overnight into a completely different format, and how we can do that, how we can help each other do that so that we can remain vital within our communities and of course our members. So I'm very pleased to present some of the panelists that we were able to, who were graciously accepting our last minute requests to join here. And they're coming from a variety of different positions from their clubs and districts. And they're going to be sharing their experiences and their recommendations. So as I say your name, just give a friendly wave so that everyone can put a face to the name. So we have Arlie Marley from Rotary District 5170. He's the district trainer, webmaster, and communications and technology chair, and PDG of 2011 and 2012. We have Becky Tsukishima, Rotary Club of Richmond, BC, who's a website and bulletin editor. Cheryl Warren, Rotary District 6630, who's the site administrator for her district. David Gardner, Rotary District 7930, past district governor and the 2020 Northeast Pets Chair. Douglas Anderson, Rotary District 2090, who's a site administrator. Nicolette Klein, Rotary District 5650, district administrative assistant. Ray Ward, Rotary District 5180, district governor. And Sandhya Maini, Rotary District 7080, director of training and district governor nominee designate. So welcome. All right, so why don't we just go over the quick agenda. This is what we're hoping to accomplish and we touch on for this session. So we're going to touch on how to get your clubs to convert over from an in-person meeting to virtual, and what are some of the tools that different clubs are using, what are the pros and cons, what are things to consider as you're making these selections. And then we're going to discuss how to engage your community on the local initiatives that are in response to this COVID-19 pandemic. And then how are you going to reflect all of this on your digital presence, and how is that going to adapt your membership drives, your public relations, how you communicate with your members and your communities. And then touch on some best practices, things that we really absolutely must do so that we keep that continuity going for what our club is doing, because this pandemic will be over and we want to come out of this even stronger. So what are some things that we want to make sure to take a look at as we navigate these times? And then we're going to wrap it up with some great resources and news that are available from Rotary International as well as ClubRunner, and we're going to introduce some ways that we can discuss these together as peers.
Right, and before we move on, I just want to share the results of the poll as they're coming in. So just to give everyone some information on what our audience looks like today, we have about 42% of the audience today is from a club with a size between 26 to 50 members. And then we have a fair share between 51 to 100 members and an equal share with about 25 members or less. We have some clubs audience members here who have clubs of 250 and above. In terms of where our audience is located, the majority of our audience today is from North America, but we have a fair share joining us today from Europe, Australia, South America, and Africa. So we have a bunch of people joining us from there, so thank you for making some time. And then in terms of clubs converting to online meetings, so we have a fair share of answers here. The majority of clubs have started to meet online, but trailing that very, very close are a bunch of clubs that have actually canceled their meetings. So we can definitely talk more about how we can address that in this webinar. And the most popular webinar platform, or the most popular platform that clubs adopted, was Zoom, followed by Facebook and GoToMeeting.
And hopefully we'll be able to get some of those as percentages and then share that.
And yeah, we'll definitely do that. And then in terms of projects, so we have a lot of clubs who have taken to donation drives, and they've partnered with local organizations on projects as well. But the large majority of clubs and our audience members here are still trying to figure out what to do in terms of COVID projects. So that's just some insight into our polls. And I'm going to leave it on, and I'm going to leave it running for anybody that hasn't had the time to fill it in yet. And we'll close it in just a bit. But we'll
Thank you, Divya.
You're welcome.
Right. So naturally, we've seen a really big shift to moving things to video conferencing and digital software that have to replace some in-person meetings during this time. And I know that there's a lot to consider. So the first question I'd really like the panelists to start to share is how they decided on some of these changes to make and which technologies they used and why.
Well, in my district, I've seen a lot of different uses in the way people are using technology. Some of them start off with Facebook Live. It's a pretty simple way of doing it. So I think one of the things that I would say before you necessarily pick a technology, you got to kind of figure out what you're trying to do. So Facebook Live is a one-way means with a camera and your Facebook page. You can get out there really quickly. But I'm seeing more and more clubs using Zoom. Some of them are using the the meeting portion of it. So they're just having open meetings. With that, you can bring in, share screens, stuff like that. Some are going to webinars that they need to do like we're doing right now, having kind of a one-way conversation, but still have different panelists come in and involve. So with some of the platforms, you can also share your webinar or your meeting on Facebook Live, so you get two ways of doing it.
All right, and Ray speaks to us from a large club, I believe, correct?
89 members, yeah. But
89 members.
I'm looking at throughout the district, and it's amazing. Even some of our medium-sized clubs are doing multiple things. We have a club of about 40 that is doing a kind of traditional meeting once a week, and then they're doing a happy hour at another part of the week. So they're using kind of two different formats because they're trying to get different different ways of getting out to their membership and to the community.
Okay, excellent.
Hi, this is Cheryl Warren from District 6630. As a past district governor, I've seen an array of different challenges within our district. I happen to be part of one of the largest clubs in the district who was not anxious to do online meetings. One thing that our governor did, which was quite smart, is he evaluated, had us work with him to evaluate all the various platforms. And in doing that, obviously Zoom has had its fair share of negative publicity. He's allowing the clubs, because they are autonomous, to use whatever platform they deem appropriate. We had the unfortunate situation of having to cancel our All Ohio pets, as well as all of our president-elect training in our district. So we took that opportunity to train all of our assistant area governors, who are going to then use whatever platform they deem appropriate with the proper protocols in place that we've set for confidentiality purposes. So we've given them access to all platforms. We're training them on all the platforms. Some of that has fallen to me, as well as other people within the district who are helping. We have each of our leadership, education, and development members. We have all teamed up with one of our area assistant governors to assist them. So either from technology or training needs. So we're using all platforms. Our club did its first Zoom meeting last week very successfully. And the way we looked at it is we actually did a survey first, but we also found, well, even if we have 150 members and 30 come, that's better than none. So our oldest member with 52 years perfect attendance was on our Zoom meeting. It was phenomenal. There were more tears in that meeting than I've ever seen.
That's amazing. And I think that we want to also focus, it's not just about the online meeting. So what are some of the other tools, if any of the panelists want to jump in, that you've adopted just to help your club communicate?
Well, before we used to, since last year, the club has been using WhatsApp for there is one setup for the members and one setup for the board, so that we can start communicating. And it's really hard to start getting some of our members. We are small clubs of about 30, and a lot of them are older people, and they are not into the smartphone and going online. So we started off, now they are very comfortable using WhatsApp. So at the beginning, we have to cancel some of the meetings because the hotel we are meeting is closing temporary till May. We are supposed to cancel till then we decided to go on Zoom because one of our members is IT person and he's already have Zoom account. So we started it about 3 weeks ago, and we only had about 8 people join at the first meeting. And then yesterday we had a guest speaker, and we had visitor from other clubs, and we were up to 37 attendants.
That's
and
excellent.
We continue using WhatsApp also.
That's great. So I want to hear from other panelists, and also in addition to what you're using, maybe you could also share some of the general best practices or recommendations when you're switching from an in-person meeting to a club meeting.
Yeah, so Hallie, it's Sonia, I'll weigh in. So I think, right now we are using Zoom for our meetings, but we're also using email. So I know Zoom can be intimidating for people. One of our members just started a fantastic email chain that reached out to everyone. And of course he used the ClubRunner directory because you should not use anything else for our club. And so he hit send, and it was great. 50 of our members chose to reply to that email, and it was a great way of staying in touch. So if your members are email savvy, that's a way of connecting. We've also used Zoom just to stay in touch socially, right? So we had a bunch of Rotarians came together for a drink night, and I think what's really important is, all of these options exist, and they are just that. They are opportunities for people to connect. We need to, be super flexible and allow people to drop in when they can. Similar to, I think, Cheryl, you were mentioning, we've had a bunch of members who have left us rejoin us online because they can now make it. We've had members from other clubs join us. So it's a great way of staying connected.
Ray, you have something to add there?
Yeah, I think that there was one thing that we're getting. You can use the phone also.
Yes.
It's considered old technology, but it's actually for some of those members that may not even be looking at their emails. You should just pick up the phone and call them. We did a big campaign in our club that we contacted every member, and we used the phone for that, and then we used the other forms after that point. But we wanted to do a welfare check. And the second thing I just wanted to say is, when we're talking about best practices, one of the things I think we need to look at is when you're running a meeting, you need to have someone moderate what's going on, because if people have microphones that are giving feedback, like that, it can't be the presenter, so the president shouldn't necessarily be doing it. It'd be good if you have a secondary person being able to maybe shut off mics if they need to, and chat with those people to help them get on and make the meeting flow smoothly.
No, that's excellent. And I just want to highlight the fact that there should be several people running the meeting. I think that's really important. You need a technical person, you need a moderator, and then the actual presenter of the content. And as you can see from this, just from this webinar with Q&As coming at you and polls and chats, I mean, there's definitely a lot. It's too much just for to sit with the president. Nicolette, what would you like to add to that?
So some of us in our district have been using Zoom for quite a while. And so one of the key pieces, of course, is there's a significant ramp up amongst the Rotarians to learn how to use it. So one of the things we've been doing is doing some practice sessions with smaller groups and putting instructions together on how to use it. And then also combining, coming down to the AGs, because some of the clubs are too small to have their own Zoom account. So we're kind of collaborating from that standpoint to make sure that every Rotarian in our district, almost 4,000 members, has access to Zoom at some level. And then we did cancel our district trained assembly. And what I'm trying to do right now is reprocess that with a series of very short programs. So instead of being an hour long with one speaker, maybe we'll have 3 or 4 speakers and only go for 8 to 10 minutes and record those. And when you're recording on Zoom, like we do our club meetings, it's really important that you break the recording up into sections, stop, start, stop, start. That way, when you go back in and edit, you can edit pieces out and take out what you want.
Yeah, and to tap into what Ray was saying, one of our assistant area governors created a program for our clubs called Every Rotarian Every Week, and it's a call program. We have elderly people in my own club who don't have technology, and they come to every meeting. So we've resorted to printing newsletters. We're using our bulletins. We've arranged for someone to make sure they get the bulletin over to our shut-ins, because by mail it can be delayed, but we make sure we print them, email, any way you can continue to touch and engage your members. Tonight will be our first, we're having a ladies program about skincare while you're under quarantine. So one of our members wanted to do that, and our president said, oh, just make it a ladies program. So we're doing a ladies cocktail program, and we're trying to find some fun and interesting things to engage people, keep Rotary in the forefront, but also uplift them from this, unfortunate situation.
One thing you should probably start thinking about, I live in Italy and we've been on lockdown now for almost a month. So if it gets to the point that we are here, you will not be able to hand deliver things, because if you don't have a reason to be out of your house, the fine is somewhere around $400 to $500. Because they're really trying to block it here. So you should probably consider this if where you live gets to a point of lockdown as we have here.
That's a good point. We actually, the lady who prints it and delivers it wears gloves, and she puts it in the mailbox. She doesn't personally take it to her. But we are using the mail system right now. We are watching Italy. I'm in Ohio, and Ohio has been at the forefront of locking down. And so we've been nothing like Italy, but we have been down for 3 weeks now.
Okay.
What I was going to add earlier was the comment about the phone calls. We're a club that's of size that we can manage that pretty easily with our club board. And so we did that early on before we'd even decided what we were going to do. And the members were really receptive to that. And then the other thing is what we're doing now is we still have some clubs, and I think somebody else mentioned this also, that some of the smaller ones, even though the district has chosen to support them financially, they don't necessarily feel like it's going to work for them because they just don't have enough members. We're having not only area meetings, but we're also going to have a district-wide meeting probably once every other week or so to make sure that we have a chance to reach everybody. But phone call is dope.
Thanks, Nicolette. David, let's hear from you.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're talking about is how to use breakout sessions within a general session. So if you had your regular meeting with your social component and then your meeting component, and you want to break into membership, public image, foundation meetings, or an event or a project planning meeting, you can do that through a breakout session and then regather again to wrap up the meeting and maybe report back those results. That's one option. And obviously you can, if you can have a club meeting via Zoom, you can have a committee meeting via Zoom. You just have to make sure that everybody that needs access has access to start and run. So it's a great way to just keep that conversation going all the time.
Great, then you brought out a great point,
And
David, which
curious,
is, oh, sorry, go ahead, Sandhya.
Okay, I would just be curious to build on that to ask how many people had to cancel their district conferences. We did. And so that's really great, Dave. I'm going to take that back to our lead committee. Thank you.
Yeah, and in fact, as a replacement to some of the district conference and our district training, our club leadership training, we are hosting a series of webinars, again, completely optional for people to come into, right? They're scheduled, they're made available, and then they're recorded, right? So people can watch them on their own time as well.
So we want to talk about just one more thing, which is the actual club meeting. So how would a club president approach, you know, the structure of the meeting? Is there anything for them to keep in mind? I think, Becky, you had a point that you wanted to share about that.
On the district? No, on the club.
Yeah.
Okay, what was the question again?
Oh, so I think it's more about, so how do you approach like changing the meeting structure? Like, do you do exactly the same thing that you would do at a typical meeting?
No. Okay, sorry. Yeah, okay. What happened is at the beginning, it was very casual, and we decided whether we're going to do all the invocation and singing O Canada. So we are just doing roundtables at the beginning. And yesterday, actually at the meeting, we had talked about singing O Canada again. And actually, we were going to record it and take it to our local hospital and broadcasting it. We're going to do it like with social distance, and we're going to sing it outside. So we're getting back into the format of trying to do it more formal, because we have a lot of visitors. So instead of some of the members had comment about joining meeting online now is so casual that it's almost like just a social gathering. So we want to get back into the format of actual doing the whole thing.
Yeah, so I think there's a balance for sure, because you want to keep that similar structure and that familiarity of the club meeting, but there are some things that may not necessarily translate. So any kind of heads up that anybody wants to share with clubs that you know, just not to fall into the same traps.
Yeah.
We'll hear from Sandhya.
Sure. So, you know, I think, you know, having Rotary meetings is fantastic, and it's our way of staying connected. And I think that that's what people are really looking for now, is an opportunity to stay connected. So, you know, we do keep some of our traditions, like singing O Canada. The first time we had it, not gonna lie, there were some people still in their pajamas. We're a morning club, and there was some very fast fiddling with some dressing gowns and things like that as people stood. So, you know, I think people are simply looking to stay connected. So be mindful of which traditions are really important to you to keep at this point. And I think now's a really great time to look at how to be flexible, right? So yeah, that's what I would add. I know some clubs are very traditional. There are very formal clubs, and you know, people are at home. And I put on a blazer for the first time in 3 weeks, but I'm not sure if everyone wants to still dress up for their meeting if they're not necessarily going to a formal venue. So I think it's a great time to demonstrate flexibility and patience and openness to new ideas.
Well, I just want to mention that's in the last 2 weeks, I've gone to over 10 different meetings, and no two are the same. And none of them are necessarily, or some of them are very, very similar to what they did when they were in their brick and mortar location. But some of them have just done simple get-togethers and go around the room and find out how everybody's doing. So I think it's really on the club culture and the personality of the president. They should find something that they're comfortable with and put on the event that meets the needs of their members. And if they do that, then I think the members like it.
All right, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think we'll move on into speaking about the community initiatives and what we can do as clubs to really keep going with what our activities were. How do we adapt those? What have you done in terms of responding to the pandemic and taking that opportunity? So I'd love to hear from. We'll start with Doug in Italy.
Excuse me, would you repeat, please? I was reading.
Yeah, no, we just wanted to know what some of the initiatives that your club took on in response to the pandemic. What were some of the projects?
Our district set up a We Fund Me. They've come up with about 125,000 euros so far, which they're dividing. We're a large district. We're the largest district in Italy. We're not that big. We're only 3,200 members, 69 clubs. But they're dividing us through the 4 different regions of which our district is made of. On top of this, the individual clubs, to help their local hospitals, local and regional hospitals, have come up so far with 150,000 euros. And basically what we're doing is we're talking to hospitals, what do you need that we can get? We have a problem here that a lot of equipment that's being manufactured has been sequestered by the state, because having state medicine here, for instance, all of the respirators that are being made in Italy have all been sequestered by the state to be divided where the state says it's more necessary. So we're trying to find holes where there are things that are needed that we can afford to buy and get them to the hospitals.
And Becky, I think your club was also involved early on with the response. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, locally we had our club own foundation accepted a contribution of 20,000 disposable masks and for distribution. Also, we helped the Rotary Hospice acquiring some masks for the staff. And some of the members actually purchased 3,500 disposable masks and distribute to nursing homes and the people in need. And then we were also contacted by the Rotary Club of Shanghai and to get some N95 masks from Belgium to Wuhan Hospital. And it's a collaboration of a dozen of Rotary Clubs and districts from France, USA, Canada, and China, and raised at about US $35,000 and purchased medical grade masks and the protective suits, and that was done last month. And then also some of our members are really into helping local community on their own. So they start helping the older people like groceries and phoning them and trying to stay connected. And a lot of people are isolated at home, older people. So there are local community organizations that they are involved and they are helping out that way.
That's wonderful. I'll just interject here. So I wanted to, speaking of helping out the community and thought leadership, Arlie, your club took on a different, a unique concept with your town halls. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, what we decided to do was there's 2 avenues. Well, there's many pieces of this nasty puzzle right now. One is on the medical side. So we actually have we have our second town hall meeting on April 20th. We've had one already. It's open to our district. We have 4 doctors and 1 nurse, and we spend an hour, hour and a half going through questions they submit to us, and also overall responses as to what's happening from a medical standpoint. A lot of that has to do with what's happening in California. So that's working out really well. A lot of clubs have stepped up with projects in terms of not only making masks, but having fundraisers to get masks and supply them to the hospitals. And the other thing we're doing, which will be the second phase of this whole challenge that we're up against, is that next Monday, we're going to have a town hall meeting on the economic impact of what's happening within our district and what that looks like. So from a training standpoint and some of the things that we do here, I'm hoping that we're able to provide solutions coming down through not only the Rotarians, but also those individuals within our clubs that are tied to the what do you call them? The town, I can't think of the word right now, but
I think you bring up a great point, Arlie, which is, and I think Dave, you were alluding to this before, which is the landscape has opened up as far as who your guest speakers are. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for the guest speakers, we've got in our club, we've got a guest speaker bureau basically, and looking at the various speakers that we can get across the district and see if they're willing to do a video presentation for us. We had one last week. We'll have another one today. So we don't seem to be having a lacking or lack of ability to find people that are willing to go online and actually do their presentation. We show them how it works, they get on, and that seems to work pretty well.
Hey, Hallie, can I add a couple of things in here?
Mm-hmm.
So we have leveraged some of our existing relationships, projects that we've already, places where we've done projects to help further, right? So we've done a lot of work in Guatemala, and we've reached down to our team in Guatemala and asked what they need. So, we are able to help without having to go through the process of creating new relationships. We've got their bank account information. We've been able to do that. We've been able to help with the food bank, chopping things up for them, sending them things over. So there are, revisit some of those existing partnerships that you've got already to see how we might be able to help there. I think the other thing I'll add right now, and I know we are talking about our response to the pandemic right now, we are definitely going to need Rotary well after this, and there are tons of causes that are going to need Rotary's help outside of this pandemic. So I encourage clubs to definitely, manage their finances and their resources so that they can help now and also help when things are different, hopefully soon after this.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I know not every club is going to be able to do these wonderful projects that we're seeing here as well that you can see on social media. So Ray, what are some of the smaller ideas that clubs can kind of start with?
Well, I think jumping on that whole theme of helping partners, we got to remember our local partners. And what I've seen a lot of happening is like some of our clubs that maybe use caterers or restaurants, what they're doing is they're still paying them, but what they're asking them to do is to provide the food to somebody else. We have a project right now where one club, the food is going to first responders. We have other clubs that their caterers are now providing food to people in need. Our club is a little bit different because we hire a caterer to cook food that we buy, but we're just taking some of the money that we're collecting for the meals and giving it to them just so they can survive through this different things. The other thing is we're looking at all those people that have sponsored us. There's been a ton of people out there that have sponsored our events, whether it's their fundraisers like that, and how can you promote them during this time to make sure that they're still in business so they can support us in the future. So my club, we have a list of sponsors every week that we show at the start of our meeting and saying, please try to go help these people. They're still open. They're still trying to keep their business going. Let's see if we can help them out. So I think that, look at your local sponsors and the people that have helped you out over the years and return the favor at this time.
Yeah,
exactly.
That brings up a good point. There's a group within one of the clubs that's been doing videos of some of the local restaurants, maybe a 2-minute clip of those restaurants that are doing takeout, and they post those videos. And maybe only 1 or 2 minutes of the particular restaurant, It's videoed at the restaurant, and the person who owns the restaurant shows how they're providing the takeout service.
And I think it goes beyond, you know, financial or donation efforts. David, you have some great ideas on what are some of the other things that Rotarians or Rotary clubs can do as far as how they can give back.
So one of the things that Ray mentioned earlier is we have a great tool in our pockets, which is a phone, whether it be a landline or a cell phone. And there are many people, seniors specific, but there's a lot of people at risk that a quick health check-in. I know in our town, the Boy Scouts have decided to do that. They've got a list of a few hundred seniors are going to be calling every couple of weeks on, you know, repeat calls to make sure they're okay. And if there's anything they need to then help try to coordinate that relief that they need, whether it be food or help with some yard work, whatever it might be. And we can do that as Rotarians. And it's a great way to give back in a very simple, light lifting, low cost way that really would have a huge impact.
Excellent. So really, I mean, even if a club doesn't have a lot of financial resources, it sounds like there's so many things, so many great things that that you can do. Also, this is a time for Rotary really to step up and become the thought leader as the group of great volunteers. I think, Divya, you wanted us to be aware.
Trying to reach out to those chamber members or chamber board directors that are within the clubs. That's also a good resource to use to pool ideas, create collaborative efforts, etc., from a financial standpoint, because the big problem is going to be opening up these businesses because they've been shut down for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Holly, before we go to Rotary Response, can I just add something around Rotary Connects? You know, if folks have family or other ones or friends who are abroad, you know, Rotary has a fantastic network, and please use it to connect people, right? So we had a club member whose daughter was sitting in Peru. They were worried about her. She wasn't able to get back. We had another club member who knew someone in Peru who had contacts to the Canadian consular as well and was able to make that connection. So this is the wonderful organization we belong to. So that's another way of helping at this time. It's just putting people together.
Excellent. Anything else anybody would like to add, you know, food for thought?
Just one additional to tap onto something somebody else said is one of the connections that we've been seeing clubs make is getting their local restaurateurs to be their speakers, to talk about their challenges. We aren't able to go out right now to videotape. I love that idea, but bring those restaurateurs on to talk about what their challenges are and how they're, you know, I mean, that's a great promotion in itself. And we're using our own people, our hospital people, our doctors, our food bank. They spoke yesterday, the Small Business Association. So we're trying to do those types of connections outside of our own club members, but you know, we're using our vocation aspect to try to keep the content interesting and helpful.
Great.
Thank you for that. There are a lot of comments coming in about a lot of great initiatives that members of our audience have taken on as well. We don't have time to read them all out, but if we have some time at the end, we'll definitely read them out. But we will share a list of everything coming in the chat and question and answers at the end via email as well. So we'll definitely share what everyone's doing with those great initiatives. For anybody that's not aware, Rotary International also just has an official hashtag, which is #RotaryResponse, which you can see on the screen. So if you were to, even the small wins, so anything that your club does, if you are going to add that on social media, which will tie into our next topic, well, but if you're going to ever post on social media about the initiatives your club is taking or anything in general at this time, you can use the #RotaryResponse in your post, and whether that's on Twitter or Facebook, and you can, or LinkedIn. And once you click on that hashtag, you'll be able to see a stream of all the rest of the messages. It's a trending topic, so you'll be able to see the messages of all the other people that have tweeted or added that on Facebook. So you'll be able to take a look at what other clubs are doing and see some great ideas as well. And the ideas, we were looking at that. We had some screenshots on the PowerPoint earlier from Twitter. You'll see not everything is a very large project. Some of them are very small initiatives, they're small wins, and some of them are large. So they vary in sizes, they vary in impact, they vary in the level of effort, but everybody is doing their part. So it's a great hashtag to just click on and read through those posts and to use yourself. And I'll also add that if you do, we're also monitoring this. So we would love to see what your club is doing and showcase that for you as well and help you out there as well. But with the Rotary response and with talking about social media and actually talking about posting what your club is doing online and talking about the digital aspect, we'll go on to the digital reach. So Hallie, I'll pass the mic back on to you.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so, you know, this brings us to thinking how important it is now more than ever what our digital presence is, now that we no longer have the opportunities for any in-person connections or advertising or promotion. So I wanted to ask the panelists how they have adapted their digital strategy. What have they been doing? So I'll start with you, Nicolette.
Thank you. What I wanted to say on this concept or this area is everything is in such turmoil that it's really easy to get out of routine, but it's now more important than ever to really keep your website up to date. We have a lot of people in our community that have found us because of our website. The more things you post there, the more likely it is to come up on a search because of the variety of content. And so now's the time to be sure that you're keeping that up to date, not only for your members, but for others in the community. And of course, you can link that to Facebook and that sort of thing. But I just think that as a district administrator, I've been trying to help the clubs that are struggling with their websites to get them up to date and to show them how easy it is on ClubRunner to update those on a daily basis. And so I want to encourage everybody to just really keep their Facebook up to date, their website up to date, and any other social media you might be using.
Excellent point. So Ray, you had another idea there.
Yeah, so one of the things that we did kind of as an internal thing to make sure that we were collecting all this stuff was at the district level, we actually put a quarantine page up so that all the clubs could get their members, again, excited about getting stuff up on Facebook. If they're putting something on their page, put it in the quarantine site, and we'd make sure it got onto the district page too. So we were trying to get just another way of doing it, but it was also a page for people just to be lighthearted and happy. We've got a lot of pictures of people where they're hanging out and doing things like that, which may necessarily not be what we want on the district Facebook page, but it's something to make the members feel great. So that's been a really big success. We had, you know, we only have 1,700 members in our district, but we had almost 200 of them sign up on the this group page within the first couple hours.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It keeps growing since then. So,
Becky, what has your club done or adapted with the communications?
We're still using WhatsApp and for regular communication, and then we make sure we change our website to show that we are meeting online, and change it so that the information, because I find a lot of them, like 40% of our clubs are meeting online, but the website is still showing their regular place. So it's important to update that with the information, and also trying to get, now that with this strategy, we can actually invite a lot of speakers from all over the place. And yesterday when I was in Facebook and I saw that there was one of the Rotary website actually gathering all the clubs that's meeting online to enter their link or their club name, and then people can visit each other.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that, you know, taking an active part in promoting social aspect in this time of social distancing is so important. And Arlie, what have you seen happening with some of the clubs in your district?
Well, one of the things, I've been doing visioning for the district for a while, and one of the things I talk a lot about is the club's home pages and their relevancy to their community. And I hate to say it, but I would say the majority, like 95%, of the clubs, the website homepages are directed more towards their club members as opposed to community relevancy. And I think, I think somebody mentioned the fact that having that that homepage updated is very significant and should be creating or talking about the stories that the clubs are doing within their particular community, because that's the only way that you can promote your relevancy and also promote your membership process.
Mm-hmm.
Holly, it's on now. I'll add that now's a great time to make sure that you're sharing stuff. Simple posts on Facebook. Get your members to share them, right? We've actually upped our game in our district on Facebook, and we've also set up a communication plan, and that communication plan was really important because we were finding that everyone wants to talk about everything right now and send a lot of emails to people, and people are getting a lot of emails right now. So we've been sort of managing our emails a little bit and controlling our channels and making sure people are getting the right news at the right time.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of interesting because from my perspective, Facebook is like taking a shotgun to something. Using the ClubRunner homepage process is more rifling. See, so
Sure.
I think there's a balance between the two. We have somebody in our district, and I've got the Facebook page tied to our district website, but it's just constantly, it's like a shotgun approach. Things just constantly happening. So I don't know the balance that you can have there between what you put on Facebook and what you put on your own homepage.
Yeah, and we do the same thing with our district, and some of our clubs. We've added our Facebook page to the homepage of our sites, and we have changed our sites this week to promote who our speakers are, and we've used the custom widgets more and moved those to the top, not just depended on the speaker widget, but really recustomized our web pages. We not only do our district newsletter, but we do club bulletins, but in the district bulletin, since it's only monthly, we're also collecting all of these things that the clubs are doing. And I have just a list in front of me because I do the bulletin, and we're going to keep communicating that and maybe even start communicating more often from the district level. We're using email for the most part for those really need to know right now type of things, but the newsletter goes out this weekend, and all these clubs have sent me ideas of what they're doing. And I mentioned earlier, we're using our members, and something we didn't know was happening. We have a member in our Burton Middlefield Club. They are making PPE, medical PPE aerosol boxes. And we didn't even know they were doing that. It's a really unique thing, but he had the company to do it. I've been working with companies to get them to make masks. All the people who make draperies, they can make masks. So we've all been tapping into our resources, and now we have to get to the point of sharing those things with our members.
Sure. I think one of the important things that we've discovered is that from the district leadership standpoint, it's challenging, but from the AG standpoint, it's easier. So training the assistant governors to do some of that work, because they're closer to the feet on the street with the presidents. So taking that information and pushing it up.
That's what we're working on. We just had our assistant governors meeting Monday, and that's exactly what we're doing. And they're doing a lot of the training now, so it's not all on me to train all the clubs. I was a little worn out last week training clubs on all the technology, and so we said, let's train our AGs, let's get them to do the training and push it through the ranks. So that's working well now.
Another digital strategy would be to reach out beyond your club. And for that, I mean, you could talk about something like, you know, I'm a past district governor from 17, 18. I have all the PDGs of zone 24 and 32 on a Zoom meeting on Monday night. And so we're trying to reach out beyond our club or beyond our district. But even beyond that, in our social media marketing, we can be reaching out to those people we know might need our services. And you could use that hashtag Rotary Respond and say, we're here to help. So contact us if you need some volunteers to help do something. And that's a good way to try to expand your reach into, you know, other organizations and show that we're partners in this mission.
And I think with this shift, are we seeing any new ways to adapt our membership drives? How would you tailor that messaging? How do you take on that opportunity?
Can I say something regarding that? It's interesting. We got one today in that they have. Well, they did a GoFundMe, but this one also told me that they're going to tap into the grants. Thank you, Rotary, for changing the grant program right now for the COVID-19 needs. But this club said that they not only have, they did an online fundraiser for using flags. So if you donated, they would go put a flag up at their city center. So they raised like $5,000 just taking their flags and going to put one up in your name. And they did it all on social media. Totally did it on Facebook.
That's great. Ray, what would you add to that?
Sorry, I had my mic off there for a second. I think the other thing that we should look at is this is probably a perfect time to contact past members. And, you know, if we're looking at reminding people of what we do in the community, they know our clubs. And I think those clubs, if they reach out to those people, make sure they're okay, find out, show that they're still part of our Rotary family and we still care about them, that when this is all over, they may say, wow, I should have left, and they come back and join us. So the other thing I would mention is just because we're in kind of lockdown, doesn't mean that we can't keep talking with the prospects that we've been talking to. Later today, I'm inducting a new member, virtually of course, in one of the clubs in my district. So don't stop the process, and if we're talking about membership, we got to keep working on it any way we can.
All right. Anyone other panelists want to chime in with some of the opportunities that you find exist now for Rotary?
We were talking about socializing a little earlier and how our meetings have kind of turned a little more social. Somebody else mentioned that they might have a traditional meeting one time during the week and then maybe have a social later on. I think we need to take advantage of those socials because not only the conversation always leads to how we're being impacted by the coronavirus. It just does right now. But it also might give us some new ideas where we can help. Also, if we can invite visitors to that, whether they're past members or potential members or just friends, then they're going to learn about what our character of our club is, what Rotary is all about, what they might be able to do once this is all over. And I also got to thinking the other day that, you know, if you have a social at a different time of the day, for example, our club meeting is at noon and maybe we have a social in the evening, we might find that there are a lot of people interested in what we're doing. And maybe that's an indicator that we need to start a satellite club when this all settles down. So I think you can tie your membership drives in with these online meetings in a lot of ways. I loved Ray's idea of going back to the past members, and somebody else mentioned that earlier too, because we have lost connection with them, and it might just be because the time of the day wasn't right. So let's get on those.
Well, and we do that using ClubRunner with our bulletins. We communicate with past members. Anything we send out, we are using our inactive user base to continually communicate with them, not just during this time, but all the time. And we have seen a lot of members come back as a result.
You know, Cheryl, I agree with that. And we did the same thing. And we've had a couple of return members as well. I don't get a lot of people responding back. And so I'm thinking some direct emails might be relevant at this time. But thank you. I'm glad others are doing the same thing with inactive members.
And Douglas, I wanted to hear from you being in Italy. How have you seen Rotary's public relations change in this new landscape?
We have a bit of a problem with Rotary in Italy because Rotary in Italy is seen oftentimes as being sort of an elite club where everybody's sitting there dressed up to the nines with a glass of wine in their hand. And we're having a lot of problems getting it across to people that we are actually a service organization. We've done a lot of things. They're working on a global grant, a $5 million global grant, all 13 districts in Italy, to help a number of hospitals. They're working on that right now. I just spoke to my governor earlier today. Our problem is getting through the people and making them understand, or trying to change a bit the mentality here, that Rotary is a service organization. It's not just social. It's not just we want to sit down and eat. Most of the time meetings here are in the evening, and many times they last from 8 o'clock until midnight. So when I was president, I came into a buffet sort of thing, and a lot of our doctors thanked me because they can get out of there by 9:30, 10 o'clock. So it's a problem here is the impression that Rotary gives here. So we're working on that. It is going to be a long, hard battle. And a lot of people don't want to join, because I talk to 40-year-olds. Our average age in my district is 59, sorry. So talking to younger people, we're talking 30 and 40-year-old people. I have a lot of them say, well, do you do something? Because if you only sit down and eat, I'm not interested. The problem is a lot of our dinosaurs just want to sit down and eat.
So is this an opportunity now with this new digital format to attract younger members?
I'm going to work on that. I volunteered at school to teach English, spoken English. And so the teacher I'm working with, I'm working on her to get her interest. She's 40 something, so it'd be a perfect age. It's a professional person and whatnot. So we need to work on this sort of people, but it's going to be interesting.
You know, one thing I'll share with you is that in our district, we formed a strategic partnership with the Red Cross. So on our district website, I have Red Cross information because they're doing blood drives and the challenges associated with that right now. So those, and we're putting one together right now for the IEEE, but developing strategic partnerships helps from both sides. And we've already started one with Toastmasters. See, so these sort of bring the membership together, and also it brings additional asset to the particular organization that we're working with. So it's a win-win. And we've done this with our satellite meetings. We have 2 satellite meetings, one in the morning and one in the evening. And the satellite meetings are generally attended by individuals that are already members. It's just that they can't make the noon meetings. See, so now we're doing the satellite meetings via Zoom. So besides our normal Thursday meeting, which we have in about an hour and a half, we have one on Wednesday night and a Tuesday morning. Okay. So there's ways of getting around this, and so it just amplifies the entire process in terms of runner membership.
I'd also say that if you use Facebook Live, you'll be surprised about the people that come in there, especially as you grow your membership or your likes. We have about 2,000 people liking our club, and at our last meeting, we engaged actually over 200 people, so twice as many people as we have in our club through Facebook Live. So that gives them an opportunity to see what your club does, and just don't use it for meetings. You can use it at fundraisers. You can use it at projects, and let people see it. People will watch videos.
All right, I'm just taking a look at time. We're actually at the top of the hour. I wanted to kind of see if we want to hear from any final thoughts from our panelists before we take a look at, move on to the resources available.
I wanted to just kind of close out by, going remote, we can expand our pool of presenters or speakers from virtually anywhere from around the world. Certainly you can invite ClubRunner to come to any of your meetings if you're having trouble engaging your club members using ClubRunner, but that could be a RI director, it could be somebody in the foundation or from membership from RI headquarters, and it could be really expanded geographically. I also suggest you look at doing multi-club meetings, and we've talked a little bit about that as a district-wide thing, but it's a great way for clubs to share and start to collaborate with each other on different programs. There's no better time than right now for doing that. And the last thing I want to talk about is the Learning Center. Rotary has spent a lot of time and money developing a very full curriculum in the Learning Center. And some of the courses I just glanced at right now is obviously getting started one, but there's some stuff on diversity and inclusion, how to build better clubs of flexibility and innovation and strategic marketing and attracting new members. And there's hundreds of courses in the session that you can look at that covers position specific as well as very timely topics.
Excellent, thank you, David. Anyone else have any final thoughts before we take a look at some of these resources, including the Learning Center, which is excellent?
Okay, actually last meeting, we had brought up the idea that when we go back to regular meeting, whether we can still parallel with online meeting for members that cannot attend the meeting, and so that we can increase the attendance. So we are we have just a beginning thought that we can do that, and we are going to look into that and see whether we can actually do a Zoom meeting together, especially at the time when we have a speaker.
I think that's a great point. And I think it's very similar to the working world where now everyone is working remotely. So we all proved that it is possible and it's doable. So we don't necessarily have to go back to the way things were.
Yeah, so we're going to try to make it work with both, because a lot of people are not actually working in the area that we are having the meeting.
I think it's important to occasionally have a wine party, though. We each bring our favorite wine and drink to each other.
Excellent. Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for this wonderful information and great discussion. Divya, you're going to just walk us through some of these resources very quickly, but I think we're going to be posting all of this information on our community site. So if you do have to drop off, this recording will be available.
Hallie, I think we'd all like to thank you and ClubRunner for stepping up and putting this together. I think it's a marvelous tool. All of us, I think, are pretty sold on what you guys have been doing over the years, and we absolutely, positively appreciate everything you guys do. So we're here for you, besides you here for us. How's that?
Yeah. And thank you for keeping your employees safe too. We do appreciate that, and they've been very responsive. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Hallie, one of your panelists is going to have to step away. She's in the middle of her workday. And thank you very much for the opportunity. And it was so amazing being able to talk to all the people and answer all the questions. See you everyone soon.
Thank you, Sandhya. All right.
Thank you. Thank you also for the opportunity, because it's interesting to see the differences between, let's say, basically North America and Europe, or particularly Italy. So I've been learning a lot. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for joining us, Doug.
So for everyone still on, we'll just quickly cover some of the resources that Rotary International is offering. So we've highlighted a few in this slide, and like Hallie mentioned, we'll make this available to everybody, and we'll post these after the webinar so everyone has access to these. So as Dave mentioned, one of the greatest resources available is the Learning Center. So if you haven't already logged in, we definitely encourage you to go to the Learning Center, where you can download some great resources that RI has made available, and a lot of help guides as well. And for those organizations, there were a lot of questions in the chat about the discount code for Zoom that Rotary clubs can purchase. So for those, if you're looking for any discounts from other companies that are offering services and programs, just like Zoom has offered a discount code for Rotarians, you can go to the Global Rewards page. And if you go there, it's on the RI website, you'll be able to find any links, all the services and their discounts and their promo codes that they're offering as well. Now, RI also has a COVID page where they are updating everybody with all the news, anything related to grant programs. So all the news they're collecting it and placing it in one page, so you don't have to go and try to find it on various pages within their website. So that is just one page called Rotary Monitors the Coronavirus Outbreak. And you should just be able to go there, and that's where you're going to be able to find information on some grants that Rotary has also made available. So they just recently added COVID-19 as a project that is eligible for district grants. So you can definitely go there and get some more information on how you can take advantage of that as well. And like I mentioned, we'll make all of these links available after the webinar. In terms of what ClubRunner is doing with our resources, we've put together a section on our community website. I'm not sure how many people are aware of our community website. You can access it at www.clubrunnercommunity.com. And we've put together a special section there with respect to all the articles and all the help articles that we think you would find useful under the COVID-19 support and resources section. But you'll also find a lot of resources related to different topics on ClubRunner in general, as well as best practices. So I know a lot of questions had come in on, okay, where can we find some best practices on how to use ClubRunner? This is a great place to go. You can just log in here using your ClubRunner credentials. So it's the same username and password that you use to log into your ClubRunner site or district. You can use that to log into the community site. I know there are many people on this chat here today that mentioned that they've developed some training literature. They have some resources that they use. So I encourage you to use this as a forum and to share those resources with others that you think could find them helpful. And I would definitely encourage you to keep the conversation going. There's so many great comments coming here about what you're doing for your club and for your community. So I definitely encourage you to take that and post it here for others to see. It's going to be a great way for us to speak with one another. The ClubRunner staff monitors this, our entire customer base. As you are part of our ClubRunner community, you can access this and you can just chat with one another about anything related to COVID-19 or any ClubRunner in general.
I think I wanted to also address, a lot of people have been asking, are the comments in the chat going to be made available? And I think that's going to be part of the recording post, so that, because I did see a lot of great ideas being shared, opinions, best practices. So we're going to take all of that and post it on the community site.
And we'll also take the recorded version of this webinar and place it on the community site as well. So you'll always be able to go there and refer back to it and share it with your club members as well.
So I think because we ran out of time, I don't know how many questions we're going to be able to get to. I think what we will do is just, type in your question if you have it. It does get saved as part of the webinar. And I think we're going to find ways to answer them, but also use them to start some discussions on the community. So I think that's probably the best thing we could do given the limited time that we have left. But I do want to thank our panelists for joining us today. It was really great to see everybody's different perspectives. I'm seeing a lot of great feedback coming in the chat, people walking away with wonderful ideas. But I think this is just the start. I would love to encourage everybody to continue the conversation. And if there's anything that we can do to help and moderate and during this time, please reach out to us. So thank you so much. All right. Have a wonderful day, night, afternoon, regardless of where you are in the world. Thank you so much to our panelists. And, let's stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
See you later.
See you later.